Witches, I need something cool to wear, something that says this Grand Admiral has flair. Bitches, beware, you gotta get some blue paint in your underwear. Threads of destiny make me look so cool. Threads of destiny, don't be tripping, tie your red ribbon round this haunted fool.
It's the Making Star Wars show.
And what do you sacrifice?
Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance and inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight, they've set me on a path from which there is no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I looked down, there was no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is? What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. No, the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror, or an audience, or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
Uncle told me, why did you have to go? Uncle told me, Billion wants to know. Grand Admiral Thrawn, why so blue? Why so blue? Show me do.
Become a channel member, or dick burn off.
Jason is here.
Bastard.
Okay, there it goes. It takes it like a long time to unmute me. I'm like, can we please do this? Everybody, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.com, .net, .org. And tonight I got Max and James with me. And we put Rob to bed because he gets little poopy pants if he stays up too late. So we said, go to bed, Rob. And when you wake up in the morning, you can let us know what you think of the space show. And then he said, okay, pumpkin daddy. And I said, okay, go to bed, baby boy. And I put him down. And so he's sleeping. And so James, you could be the official Rob of the episode.
I was so looking forward to arguing with him tonight. I'm really disappointed.
What, you guys are the same usually. I think you guys usually agree.
No, tonight I was going to give him hell. So
all right, that's fair enough.
Now he can't fight back, so it's even better.
Yeah. No, he's just a little sleeping guy. He's a little sleepy boy. Yeah. So tonight we had the I guess the final season 1 episode of Ahsoka. Bespin Bulletin just texted me that Deadline is reporting. We hear that Ahsoka season 2 is more of a reality and conversations, but that it is not locked in. And but once again, we know that everything that goes down in these stories has to funnel into Dave Filoni Star Wars film. These things are connected. They're not random. And once again, though, Ahsoka season 2, will it happen? It might, but also it's supposed to happen, I think. But you could also have this plot line could be picked up in The Mandalorian. Grogu and Mando could go and save them in this season, and then the movie stuff happens. There's all kinds of organizational stuff that can go down. But we need to talk about the episode. So before we talk about season 2, and just want to get that out of the way. So Yeah, so I bullet pointed like the outline of like what what happens, or like the main scenes, and we could just kind of like hit along each one if that's cool with you guys. But before we do, Max, wake up, look at me, Max. Did you like it, Max?
He did.
Yeah,
I liked it. Yeah,
How about the whole season too? Did you like the whole season, or did you hate the whole season?
I hated it.
It made you disgusted?
Yeah, like ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah.
No, I liked it. I
mean,
liked
it was like kind of like a splash baby, right? You thought you had like just to go a little bit, but then a baby came out.
I'm really
Yeah.
really glad that they that the whole Night Sisters like were a part of the story.
Yeah,
You know, my girls.
your girls.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
How
So,
about you? Oh, sorry. Go
it
ahead.
was I don't know. There was a little bit odd, but I do like it.
Just the Night Sisters in this. You mean?
No, just like in general, like
Oh yeah.
I never thought that all of these like would mesh together and into a cohesive story.
Yeah, I never thought when I saw like the
Story.
Clone Wars stuff in live action, essentially, it would feel like the never-ending story. But hey, that's what happens sometimes. I don't mean that in a bad way either. I mean, I'm down for it. But how about you, James? Did you like the episode? Did you like the season?
You know, I think Star Wars is better as a movie
Mm-hmm.
or as a very intimate Andor style show
Mm-hmm.
or as an animated series.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think this is just maybe a little too big for a TV budget.
Hmm.
So it's like a mixed bag. I mean, it wasn't offensively bad like Boba Fett or Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Andor good, and it's not
No,
movie spectacle level. I mean, so it's kind of like it's like they tried to go there and just don't have the resources to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if this was like done as a movie and cut down to like 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
I think there's probably something there, but it's just it seems just kind of overdrawn and they're just trying to do too much of too little. So
Yeah,
it's like to me it was just it's a B minus maybe. I don't know. It's I have to watch it a couple more times. There were some moments where it's like, okay, yeah, it seems to come together, and then there's times where it's just like, this is just kind of weak. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I feel like it's essentially I'm very happy with it, but I feel like it's what for in animation. It just has people in it now as opposed to the cartoon characters, and we live in a world where animation is looked at like it's a Saturday morning cartoon when it doesn't even fucking exist anymore. So I don't know what stigma is even there because they only make cartoons for adults. Really, they don't really cartoons for kids.
No.
So it's kind of a weird stigma against animation. So I mean, this is how we end up getting those like things. But we'll get into that when we get to it. I want to talk about a little bit about people are saying like, oh, I know Rob, the first thing he's gonna do is like, oh, I need to go watch 150 hours of cartoons. No. You know what? Or would you be happy if the series Bible had like a really deep backstory? Well, that's what the cartoon was now. And so the cartoon could never have existed and all of this shit could happen and it would just have a really, you know what I mean? Now, and it would just be like how it always was. So anyways, though, I hate you, Rob. I'm glad I put you to bed, you little fucking bitch. That said, yeah, so when we start the episode, here's what's kind of interesting. Now, I could be wrong, but I remember sources pretty fucking sure about this one that they came out of those caskets. Sources said the zombies came out of the caskets. Now, we don't see that in this episode. Not to jump too far ahead, but we get our Raiders of the Lost Ark shot of it. So I'm guessing they decided to save that for the future. And but there's a line just really early on in the exposition where like the cargo transfer is complete, something like that. Somebody says that to like Thrawn. And what is the cargo? And by the end of it, you should know that it's the fucking bodies of those zombies. And I'm gonna, well, yeah, but I mean, when you look at what's going on, like they're keeping them. Those are 6 or 4 Star Destroyers worth of bodies and stuff, you know, when you get down to it. And they've just been collecting them. And over the last decade, Thrawn's really lost them. They've died, I would say. And then they've had to use the threads of destiny before. However, the difference, I think, in this later part of it is that when they do that hex and they come back, they're like ravenous zombie, like, I'm gonna bite your face off, like monsters, and they sacrifice themselves to it. So I think there's actually, like, I think just to make matters more confusing, I think most likely we have this going on, like the resurrection stuff is happening in multiple ways, in different ways. Like, so those guys basically sacrifice themselves later on to become something to stop Ahsoka, because they were doing it for the greater good. If you look at what their agenda is, yeah, I'll become a ravenous zombie monster that will stop the Jedi, so that way Thrawn can get back, you know. But so yeah,
there's a lot of questions with that. Then, I mean, if it's so obvious what's in the sarcophagus things, why not make it obvious? I mean, why make it ambiguous if you don't show it? Because then it's like, well, it's clearly that, but then is it?
I'm going to be real with you, James, right now. I'm going to be real with you and people in the chat, because I love the people in the chat, but I don't love all the other Star Wars fans. They're all a bunch of assholes, and they're all really fucking stupid and easily surprised. So if they don't say it, they go, well, what is the answer? And then when it happens, they go, wow.
And then also,
that's why, James.
The last episode, they sent a bunch of these night troopers to go and just basically use as a stall tactic.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think Rob pointed this out. This is the dumbest Thrawn ever then, because, okay, now I've got so many questions about that. It was a stall tactic, but technically it didn't, because Ezra still got on the ship.
Okay.
And at the end, he was kind of freaking out, like, oh, shit, they might actually make it. At first, he was like, oh, their odds are like 0. And then next thing you know, they're like, oh, their odds are pretty fucking good. So Thrawn's either really shitty at calculating odds, or he's just playing his hand wrong. And then why didn't they resurrect the zombie guys that he sent after him in the last episode? They just fucking died and sat there. Couldn't they have resurrected them and like stalled them even longer? No,
those guys get picked up and put into those little fucking boxes that just stops them from decaying. See, there's a lot going on. I'm two things. I'm fairly convinced, just upon just the circumstantial evidence, getting them back to Dathomir is important. That's why they go there. Once they go, they're gonna put all the caskets in Dathomir, and they're gonna raise the roof. You know, they're gonna resurrect them all. But you want to know what's kind of cool? Just a side theory I got is when Ventress dies, her body is taken back to Dathomir and buried. And I think when they resurrect everybody, that bitch is coming back. That's a theory I got.
That'd be cool.
Well, so now, and so this brings up a whole bunch of shit then, because, the whole like the ability to cheat death thing, we know that that's kind of, what the Sith were ultimately after, and that was kind of like a futile pursuit. It basically the whole saga basically made it be like, following the dark side is not the actually the antithesis of what they're trying to do. Right. So it's like they're going down a path that's going to be ultimately lead to nowhere with the whole resurrection thing and being immortal. And then also Ventress turned good at the end. So if she comes back, then is she going to be like, well, fuck these guys?
Well, here's the whole thing is, I've been saying this for like days now. Nobody will listen to me. Like, because people will eventually go, it's Palpatine in there. Palpatine's down in the core. They'll just say something. Snoke is down there and he's waiting for, whatever happens to be. The witches aren't going to work for Palpatine or his proxies at all. Right. They fucking got murdered by him. Like, and so there's a really important moment when Morgan Elsbeth's like, no, actually it's for Dathomir. She like whispers, Dathomir. I gotta say it because I'm fucking that kind of chick, And so anyways, they have, but that's our wink wink. We got ulterior motives too. You know what I mean? Kind of
bitch.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
She
think
seemed very worried,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, but Morgan, and so at the start of the episode, Morgan is they're like, Morgan, you know what? You're a true sister. Here we go. You could have Mother Talzin's sword. We're gonna 3D print it right now using magic nanobots, and you're gonna look cool as shit with it for like 10 minutes. And and by the way, makeover, give her goth makeup because you're with the witches now. You're not with those other girls anymore. It's time. It's time to look cool.
I thought she was celebrating Lent because she just had like the ash on the forehead.
No, that was like a
there.
Marilyn Manson video that Filoni saw once. That's what he thinks it is. Yeah. But
Makes sense.
yeah. But so anyways, they're like, so we get Morgan Elsbeth turning goth, right? It's cool. She looks cooler. She's into cooler bands now. She's like found community. She's got friends. Like life is looking pretty good for Ellsbeth finally. And then we cut over to Ezra, and then they have like a fun, I'd say fan servicey kind of thing going on, and where Hyung and Ezra are making a new lightsaber. They're doing the Ollivander's wand sequence. I mean, he's calling his master Kanan, and the droid's like, "Oh, I know who that is," and I'm like, "No, you don't, because his name is Caleb Doom." But then as it goes on, they do say Caleb, and I was just like, Filoni, you fucking bitch. You knew that I was going to say that, so then you wrote that later. Like, how about you just make it efficient? But you thought you're really playing with my head. Whatever, Filoni. Whatever, bro. But
are you surprised how inside baseball the show is? Like, if I know people, then like as Rob likes to call them the normies. I the normies that I've spoken with are just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with the show. And they're just like, I'm bored and I don't understand it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're bored, then that's the whole different thing. But in terms of that kind of shit, like, I don't know who the Bothans were. I don't know what the Clone Wars were. I don't know if I've only seen A New Hope. I don't know what Darth Vader's fucking problem was with it. Luke Skywalker's dad. What you know what I mean? You don't know anything. So part of the game with Star Wars has always been a little bit like being lost. And I think if you watch the cartoons, you're not lost. And if you are, then you're just hearing like this lore shit. You're like, oh, what's that going to be? But in this series, the difference is I don't feel like they're dropping those things and then it just won't matter. I don't think they're dropping that stuff. And then like they don't drop Night Sister magic and then it doesn't matter. The Night Sister magic comes to the forefront.
Yeah.
Presumably when we get to the Balen stuff, and the Mortis stuff, like, yeah, you don't know anything about that. I've seen the Mortis in like 15 times. I don't even fucking know what's going on there, anyways. But when you get down to it, like when you get down to it, like we are familiar. They're not, but they're just going like, what the fuck's that giant statue?
Well,
that's the statue of the Star Wars Liberty, you know.
Have you tried watching the Mortis arc after eating one of those muffins?
Oh fuck! I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Never,
because I think it would make a lot more sense.
Man,
yeah.
When I look back at that night, I wish I had put like a movie on or something now because I did not have a good time. I didn't. But anyways, so we have like like no, but I mean those inside baseball moments when we get to the Ezra moment and they're like, Hera sees Ezra. People are going to be like, what the fuck is that? Is that as a girlfriend? What does it mean? So. It'll be explained. Obviously, you'll get it next time.
Well, we told you to watch Rebels.
Yeah, but
I'm just joking.
No, you're right. I mean, if it matters to them that much, they can go fucking watch Rebels. I mean, there's been a writer's strike. There's gonna be a whole drought of content. You'll have the time, but before they play serious catch up. But when you really get down to it, like those things, I feel that the loyal Star Wars fan base is rewarded with this show, and it is fan servicey. But at the same time, the answers are there if you require them. But otherwise, if you don't, I think that if you were following the narrative, like Hera's like, you're gonna go get Ezra. Ezra's out there, so when he comes back, you have all you need to interpret the scene correctly, unless you have like severe memory loss, in which case
Yeah, but I mean, there is that whole thing of like, you set it up so it matters. I mean,
Mhm.
if you don't have like that emotional connection with, you can sit there and say that she's excited to see Ezra, but if you don't have any kind of investment into that connection, it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter if he comes back or not, right? I mean, so you never set that up unless you watch Rebels and you see these two are
well,
friends and they have
I
a
disagree
history.
with that because it does matter because it matters to Ahsoka and particularly to Sabine.
Yeah, but you never
And
see
then we,
why. You just say
and then
they
we,
just tell you it matters because
well,
that's their friend.
well, yeah, early on, we know
You
that
know.
they're friends. He says like you're like a sister to me. So
Yeah,
we get that we get the painting with it as with
but
like a family fucking portrait.
yeah, but just
All of
saying
the
it
stuff
isn't
is there.
enough to make a
Well,
connection to say, oh, this person's my long lost friend.
mhm.
So if you don't really build that up, it doesn't really mean anything. The payoff is not there. I mean, for somebody that's watched Rebels, sure, but if you've never watched it and you have no
I
idea
don't
who these
know.
characters are, I don't think you really care if Ezra comes back and meets Hera again.
I mean, but throughout the whole show, they do like exposition of explaining what's going
Well,
on, why.
they can
Very high level,
explain
but
it. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't see like that true connection that they had, I mean, if they did flashback scenes even with like them prior,
Mhm.
showing them actually, together and showing that, it would probably meant more to somebody than just saying, "This is my friend and I miss him and I haven't seen him in a long time." Then he comes back and you're like, "Oh, hey, my friend's back."
But we
You
spend
know,
so much time with how the fuck are we going to get out there? How hard it is to get out there? Our friends lost out
yeah,
there, and then we have the talk with Ahsoka and Sabine. She's like, "You did get Ezra home. Like you
yeah,
did what you intended to like do." We do have all of that stuff, so goals are met. We understand the
yeah.
severity of the location. I mean, I don't know if somebody's like saved off of a desert island and fucking with Tom Hanks in that movie or whatever and like they hugs his wife at the end. I don't know if I go like, oh, I don't know who the wife is, therefore the emotional resonance isn't there. But at the same time, I did watch Rebels. I did
Mhm.
watch Clone Wars. I did watch
Yeah.
all of these shows, and I haven't watched it from the lens of let me mentally block all that out. I could do that. I could watch this and block that out. I could block out
Well,
like all
yeah,
knowledge of something, and I have that ability. I can do it.
right.
And so I don't know if my experience would be different, but
Yeah.
I did watch this damn well knowing what the significance of everything
Well, I
is.
mean, he could have saved a lot of time, Dave Filoni, if he had just talked to Chris Terrio and realized he could have just said somehow Ezra
Somehow
returned,
Ezra returned, yeah.
somehow Thrawn
Well,
returned,
I mean,
and then the whole show is,
yeah,
pointless. Then.
yeah. Well, it's like that's like the I don't want to get too far ahead, but like the dramatic conceit of him coming out in the full stormtrooper costume,
It was
kind of
dumb
makes
as a.
kind of no,
Why did he wear the fucking
for
helmet when he came off the
for
ship?
drama. Then also Ezra does that in the cartoon, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of an Ezra thing, but also, motherfucker, you could have got shot. Like,
Mhm.
what neighborhood did you grow up in? Because you feel very secure. But yeah, and why did the rebels put down the thing when they saw him? I guess there must have been one missing as were Bridger posters everywhere after the Battle of Endor or something. I don't know.
Why
But
did they even let these guys land? I mean, the
yeah,
New Republic has a problem with just letting ships on board. They
it is a
did
pretty
that
good
with
plan.
Balen and Shin. It's like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, just let them land. We know they're not real Jedi. They clearly have ulterior motives. Let's just,
yeah.
bring them on board. That'll
Well,
go well.
I'm gonna make it easy for you that he transmitted Hera's secret code that only he and her know, and that she couldn't believe it that he was back. But anyways, so he makes Ezra makes a lightsaber, makes it in sort of in honor of Kanan, and when we know the full story as we understand it now, he hasn't had a lightsaber since then. So this is finally gets to do it. He gets like kind of the sister part of Kanan's lightsaber that it's not the piece of Kanan's lightsaber, but it's one of the ones Hyung saved for him for Kanan, knowing that or Caleb Doom, knowing that he would probably need it at some point because he would eventually lose it.
he just so happened to have a copy. Next one.
So happen to have an extra part and does it. But then so we kind of have like now this is like this might be bad, might be lazy, I don't know. I might actually like I don't know about this part, But Sabine is clearly sort of upset by Ezra being complimented by Hyung in his abilities. He's like, "You're a fucking natural, bro. Like, you're the dude we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
You're definitely this ship's material." And she's like, "Eh." She's like fucking, she bones out. But she bones out into Ahsoka, basically telling her, "It's cool, dog. We're all homies here. We're friends. It's fine. My master stood by me, and I'm gonna stand by you." And she basically, in her own very nice way, says, "You fucked up, but my master, when I fucked up, stood by me. And even when they were gonna try to put me in jail for that shit I didn't do, he still stood by me, kinda." I thought that was a little loosey goosey because he kind of didn't stand by her that much. He's kind of like, "Ahsoka, you better go to court." You know, that's all he kind of did.
Didn't she
and
say something like
also-
your gamble paid off or something like that?
Yeah, but it didn't. It really didn't.
Yeah,
It's very,
So
it's very
here's why it
messy
did.
with that.
Here's why it did.
Okay.
Ahsoka's problem
Mhm.
has been that Sabine is in the mix, like her family is eradicated. She has a lot of things to fuck with during her training that could have her go sideways.
Oh yeah.
And what they've now done, what the galaxy, and she considers herself kind of removed in a lot of ways from things she has, right?
Sure.
What she's done is the central conflict is now back home at Coruscant, the core. And she is now traded in Ezra for a Sabine. It's better. That is actually better. And now she gets to focus on Sabine away from everything for now. And she gets to they get to actually do her training that they're together. I think that's where Ahsoka's contentment comes from in terms of this narrative. We look at their wants and the wants and needs of the characters. And the good thing is, it was a problem that Sabine was pining for Ezra that whole time. That's like attachment and in direct proximity to the attachment. And now that's kind of solved for right now. It's not solved indefinitely, but it's solved for the moment. You know what I mean? So it is for Ahsoka's desires. I think it's actually like the best case scenario because homeboy's going back. Luke's back there. It's obvious what that's going to mean. She's already probably told Luke, "I'm not going to be in your Jedi school for fucking nerds. I'm way cooler than that." Right? I'm a Ronin Jedi. I ain't got time for your shit. You know, I'm a loner, a rebel, you know? But I mean, but once again, what I just said is open to interpretation. And if it doesn't work for you, it's totally fine because that's where it's working for me. But I could,
it's murky because I mean, had they gone to plan initially and they destroyed the map and Thrawn is stuck wherever he is, because we know shit's going to go down, right? I mean, obviously, wherever this is going from here, shit's going to go down. People are going to fucking die. None of that happens if they destroy the map and Ezra gets stuck there permanently and they never see him again.
Yeah.
So it's, that was part of the lesson of Rebels is like, Ezra has the chance to kind of like reunite with his family. And he's like, fuck this shit. I'm not doing this because, I'm going to sacrifice my family. And, and he has to sacrifice Kanan because it's like, yeah, I have to let these people go because for the greater good, I can't be selfish and say I miss my parents. So I'm going to, but that's exactly what Sabine does. And Ahsoka's like, no, it's totally cool. That's the right way to do it. And so it's very mixed messagey. And so it's like, what is this show trying to say? It's very just kind of,
what was it? Yeah. I mean, honestly,
it's to be continued.
I watched everything that Filoni's had to say. Filoni doesn't really have anything to say.
Right.
I mean, he's got a fantasy, but he doesn't, he's not really saying too much. I mean, I guess you could say he's saying something about being a mentor and a leader and that kind of thing, but so fucking what? I don't know. I mean, you guys got apprentices running around. This isn't really a 2023 problem that I feel like we need to really contend with in terms of our things. But That's it. That's it. You know, that's What's what it's saying. I don't know. But yeah, I wrote in my notes, Ahsoka and Sabine tone. We learned she feared her attachment to dead loved ones would compromise her ability to act selflessly, and that pertains to Ezra as well as to the Mandalorians. You know what I mean? And we know the Mandalorians are going to be a part of the conflict again. They definitely will, because it's this series. This whole like I keep saying, this is just an anthology series where the Mandalorian's at the center of it. You know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, then we have that moment where, you know, they're like the little crab people. Now here's where I will get critical. You were gonna do this like end battle sequence thing, and you got your Ewoks, you got your little critters that are gonna save the day in the end, and you didn't do anything with them. They didn't need to be here. Now at the end of the day, they go back and they live with them, so you're like, okay, there's that, but they were really just used for people think Babu Frick is hilarious. Here's the reaction shots. And I was like, and I like cutesy, stupid Star Wars. I like porgs and I like Ewoks. And when that little Chewbacca growls at the mouse droid and it scurries away like a little asshole. I love that shit. So I'm like, cool. But in this thing right here, it was like they were kind of just a hindrance. And but anyways, yeah. And then we end up with the her basically crashing the ship, which was sort of it's not plot armor, but it was just a convenient plot thing. She has to crash the ship. That's why they can't fly away. We kind of waste time with why don't they just use the ship? When realistically they could have just said like, oh, Hyan could have just been like, I'm restarting the engines. It's fucking R2D2 in episode 7. It's just defragging. What do you want? You know, but I mean, there was, but she crashes the ship. We get our little thing. Kind of, you know, I don't know. Didn't really care about that moment. People were talking a lot about it online, from what I could see. Like, I don't care about it.
Crashing the ship.
It's that whole fucking thing. They're all the Imperial Stormtroopers and their TIE fighters. Why would they do? I'm just like, I don't fucking know. I don't care. They just did it. Okay, it's so dumb. So let's I don't know. It just that part frustrates me. But yeah. But anyways, I said the Anodi really served no purpose here. Maybe they will later. I mean, we're not seeing the last of them. I would assume. But then we get the sequence with Ahsoka riding her wolf into battle. Something that we've known about for a long, long time. And Thrawn's like, let's give them hellfire. It's like, come on, calm down, Thrawn. Calm down, buddy. But he did say that. He did say hellfire. And she like dodge it. It was cool. It did remind me of something from Clone Wars. That was very Filoni-esque. I don't know if I've seen that sequence before, but I feel like I have, because it's just that familiar. So I was cool with it. And then the part that follows after, where they make it through the wall, then they end up kind of like having to go up this tower, up this like thing. It's just kind of fun for like what it is, you know.
Quick question about Thrawn. Did you guys notice the V on his forehead before?
Yeah.
I didn't notice it.
Yeah, it's for Van Halen. Do you notice how all of the troopers look like Van Halen? They all look like his guitar.
Vagina.
Pretty sure.
I thought it was the Weezer logo that he had on there.
Weezer, yeah. This sounds right. We end up so they're going up the tower. The 3 Jedi fight against the troopers, and they're just killing them all, and then they all get back up.
You know, and I felt a better way to deal with like Thrawn being this like master tactician and you know, this brilliant strategist, and realistically he technically loses, because Ezra does get on the ship, and eventually we know, I mean, of course, as you know, Sabine and Ahsoka are going to follow at some point in time. It would have been better, I think, if they just said, like, you know, he had limited resources, he was trying to conserve, he just put a line in there of him just saying, I don't have the resources to deal with this shit.
I can't give it to you, James. I can't give you. Thrawn lost on that because Ezra gets back. It wasn't the best outcome in the world for Thrawn, but he makes it back with all of his all his bad guys.
Yeah, but he
And
also
he's back.
doesn't know that. I mean, I think
Yeah.
if he knows that Ezra and Ahsoka are going to follow him, he knows, oh fuck, I fucked up.
Mhm.
So knowing that, and the fact that he has a chance to take him out and he doesn't, it's one of those things. It's
Wait,
just like,
Ezra killing Thrawn, or
no, Thrawn killing Ezra and Ahsoka. He's
yeah,
just
he has
like,
no.
oh,
We don't know if Thrawn even knows that happened at this point.
yeah.
He might, because I mean he might just think like a stormtrooper got the ship and was like peace out once they got home. Like that's what he might think happened. it makes it. He
But
could
he
think
knows
that.
Ahsoka was alive. He knows he left her there. He
Yeah.
knows that she got there somehow without the ability from that
Mhm.
Ion thing. So
Well,
he's got
and
to
that's-
assume she
that's
has
the
a way
ob-
to get back.
And that's the obvious answer. The girls hang out there, wait for the space whales to come back.
Yeah.
And they get
So
back.
he's got to know, oh shit, they're eventually going to follow. This is going to be a problem down the road. He's obviously very concerned with them as a threat.
Is
but
it
he doesn't
Starwell mating season though? Is it Starwell mating season?
Is it third fall or second fall right now?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, but I mean I mean, in terms of what Thrawn has going on though, they might be out there for another 10 years. He was out there for 10 years last time.
It would just make Thrawn seem less competent than he's supposed to be if they said something about like, I just don't have the resource to deal with this shit. I'm doing the best I can with what I got versus, because it sounds like he's like holding his cards. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? You're this master tactician. If you have this massive threat, you throw fucking everything at it to take it out. You don't say, well, let's just send a couple guys out there to stall
him. But he thinks he got what he wanted though.
But he didn't though. That's my point. Is he a dumbass?
No, he's not, because
Thrawn is not very bright. He's not the master tactician.
If Thrawn goes back, blows up the New Republic, takes the whole thing over, and then 3 years later Ahsoka Tano comes back, he is not worried about that. That's not.
How long did it take her to follow Morgan Ellsbeth?
Yeah,
he's got to assume that, like, well, shit, if she got here that fast, she can probably get back here that fast. Why he's assuming that she can't is ridiculous.
Thrawn was out there for 10 years, though. What if Thrawn knows that the space whales don't come very often? What if they don't really ever come at all? You know what I mean?
So, but then you have to show something that he's like, oh yeah, she can't follow us. There's no way. But the way it's left is, as an audience member, I'm looking at going, oh, I know that bitch coming back. She's gonna find a way.
But you're
he's got to be smart enough to anticipate.
You're talking about season 2 now, though.
Yeah,
and that's where that conversation would go. I mean, so yeah, I mean, for all I know, season 2 starts and it's fucking stupid, and you're completely right. You might be. You know what I mean? Like I'm not taking that off the table. But right now, that's just something that we can't know. We would have to make an assumption that it would be dumb.
If she gets back by some War Between Worlds kind of shit or something where Thrawn's like, oh fuck, I didn't see that coming kind of thing, maybe. But I think at this point he's kind of saying like, don't underestimate these guys. I think he's seen enough shit to be like, hey, when I think these fuckers lost, they fucking pop out of nowhere and kick my ass. So
I mean, because if from Thrawn's perspective though, the New Republic is torn apart. It's navy or whatever. It's military. It's very small. It's fragmented, and they're not politically strong.
No,
there's infighting and all kinds of arrogance and imperialists and all that kind of shit. And then so I'm just saying though, I still think that with Thrawn having been out there for 10 years, I still think her being out there for 3 years would still be a conservative estimate, based off of the fact that she got lucky with the space whales, happened to be going there when she met up with them and they're out, but they don't come here every, he might know that.
Way too coincidental if it just happened to happen
the first part,
same time.
That's the will of the Force, bro. But anyways, but if his timeline is, I get back, I resurrect all these troopers on Dathomir, all of the witch bodies on Dathomir, now I got my army, and then we attack the New Republic. I make myself emperor. All of this happens in 3 months. Ahsoka being out there for 3 years, he's like, fine. I got what I wanted for now. But we also didn't get like the end like victory kind of shit with him.
Yeah. Well, what's
So,
interesting
so
too,
we don't know how like stuff how much self applause he's giving himself yet.
they
Either.
alluded to the fact that he kind of knows what's happened while he's gone. So he's not
Mhm.
like in the dark. He's not
Yeah,
going, oh
Morgan
shit, what do you
Elsbeth.
mean the Emperor's dead?
Yeah, Morgan Elsbeth has been talking to the other witches, and then
Right.
that's how Thrawn was talking to her. So we know that for all we know, for the last 10 years, they've been doing like weekly phone calls. We don't really know, like the but I will concede like on that one right there, I can see why they would leave that ambiguous because you don't want to write yourself into a corner. But like
Sure.
the this season, the stuff with Ezra and Sabine, that is the weak parts though, when like the conversations and like, oh yeah, really? Oh shit, like the kind of like nonchalantness of it and stuff. And
Yeah.
but anyways, yeah, I wrote Elsbeth and Ahsoka fight. Didn't really like the fight.
You didn't?
It didn't read, to be honest with you. They were swinging swords around. All this stuff happens. So there was like moments in the fights on this one where Ahsoka at the end's like, and you're just like, whoa, you did not earn that. A lot of the stuff happened, but that pose, you didn't earn that. So yeah, on this one, I wasn't really like too up on the fights for the most part. I thought they were kind of, it was like the plot was moving and stuff, so we didn't get too sidetracked with it. So I don't really care. But I think when I watched this like a bunch of times, also the Death Troopers are zombies in that sequence, and we don't see those guys die and get resurrected as zombies. I don't think. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm a little bit confused, so I don't know if anybody has the answer.
Well,
But they're called, what they're Death Troopers. Are they called Super Death Troopers when they're dead Death Troopers?
I was under the impression that maybe like the stormtroopers are still alive
Yeah.
when they first go into battle. Then Ezra and Sabine and all them, they cut them down and then they're resurrected. So they're not undead until they're killed.
Right. That part. Yeah, that part of it is like, that's where I think the hex is a variant potentially on the hex that they've already used before, the Threads of Destiny one. I think this is like a different one. We're going to turn you into Rabbit Beast, and you're going to stall them so we can get away. You're sacrificing yourself for this greater good. Like that's what they believe. The people who would like go with it, but those Death Troopers aren't with. They're not with them. They're like just like these two separate ones that are like now zombified monster men, and they're with Morgan Elsbeth. So I don't really I could explain it away, but I just Morgan Elsbeth did it on them, you know what I mean? And they went with it. But anyways, but yeah, that was just a little bit weird because I was like, why aren't all the ones if they're doing it when all the ones in the casket's getting up? But I also could just be like the logistics of trying to feed that zombie army. Might want to keep them dead until you get where you're going to go and then resurrect them and they could eat.
Not enough brains to go around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and I'm still, and then but in that fight, we get Ellsbeth gets her new cool makeup, she gets her new fancy sword, and then she gets Darth Mauled like pretty much immediately, and she's dead. We see. I think she's dead, but the witches are like, oh, she's dead. And so I think that's like that kind of takes off the table like before when she thought she was dead, but she was really just arrested kind of situation, But
I'm surprised they killed her. I mean, I'm almost surprised when they kill any characters in these things at this point. But that seemed kind of shocking.
But she might come back. She might come back as one of the zombies and like with like a new design in some way. Like, you know what I mean? Like they might take it there. But I'm also of the opinion that, if they are doing that other thing, like I said, if Ventress, for instance, comes back, I don't know if we need her. You know what I mean? Like because if Ventress was to come back, she banged it out with Quinlan Voss. She had her first orgasm with a man, and so there's a lot to be grateful there. But when she comes back, if she was to be resurrected, she would be like, "Oh, I was a witch. The witches are back. Back. I come back. That's amazing." She probably would be back with them, I think. But
a reason to come back.
Yeah, let's get so, and then Ezra, and then we have like the little, I don't know if we talked about it, but where Ezra's like, hey, you know, I'll run and jump over this like
Mm.
chasm onto the ship, and you'll push me, and then I'll pull you. They go to do it. And she's like, psych, I'm staying here with Ahsoka because we're best apprentice and master now. And then, you know, he gets onto the thing. That was a very, very Rebels cartoony kind of thing.
Very
And
much,
yeah. So I was like, okay, we saw it now. I hope they don't do too much more of that in live action. You know, I don't hate it. It didn't piss me off. It didn't offend my delicate sensibilities or anything like that. But I was
Units
also
rated
like a little
TV?
bit like, well, when you
screen.
deal with like that like idea of like using the Force to do this like gymnastics kind of stuff, you start to open up like, well, why weren't the Jedi in their heyday like fucking the Flying Graysons, like
They
going
didn't
around
know.
tearing everything up? You know what I mean? Like you do end up with that. Like you got to kind of keep it sort of grounded on some of it. So
and then they waste time too a lot, and it kind of messes up the pacing too. Just like the whole thing of like, did Ezra make it? And then the troopers look at him and say, "You fucking know he did." And it's like you could have just had him land right in the hangar and start whooping ass, as opposed to like kind of slowing it down. And it's just bad decision making and editing.
So they end up getting the ship does go away. The girls can't catch up to it, and then now they are lost. Now I don't want to spend too much time on this, but God, man, I just don't get why these Reddit guys got to be such little salty bitches about everything I do. Like I give them stuff to talk about, and then they continually shit on me. And then like even when I said there was like a swap, I said there was going to be a swap.
Yeah.
I was very fucking clear about it. I'm like, and my assumption was that one would stay behind, not both. But I knew that Ezra would go home. That's what I said. I said, I know Ezra goes home, and I don't know which of the girls stays and which one goes. Either Ahsoka or Sabine. We're trying to figure that out. And yeah, but they're just like saying, oh no, he doesn't. He's speculating. Really, I speculated that it would end. Well, I'm fucking really good at speculating. Then I'm really, really good. Really, I'm amazing. In fact, I'm the best speculator ever. Everybody should listen to every theory I have. Maybe I should call myself Star Wars J Theory, but I won't. But anyways, yeah, I don't understand why those guys got to be such little fucking bitches, though. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, it just trips me out. Like, I'm the one who told them they were gonna go to a new place. I'm the one who told them that there was gonna be fucking witches. I was the one who told them Balen and Shin. I was the, you know what I mean, though? Like it goes on. Who was playing Thrawn for sure? I've seen it. It just like goes on, and then like I just see like those guys just like try to like dismantle and then like put something else in my play constantly. It's just like, I don't know why I live in their fucking head so much, but it's such little bitches. But I hope that they are mad right now.
They love
because they can say what they want, but they know.
Oh, they still won't back down.
No, they won't. But in their heads, they know.
It's like the EU is canon crowd.
I don't know. I don't know what they are. I just call them Reddit douchebags. But anyways, back to the yeah. So we okay. So we have a couple of weird things that go down. So the girls now live with the Anodi, and they're like, "Hey, we lost the hairy guy. Now we got 2 hot chicks. This is great. Things are looking up for the grab people, right?" And then so we see Ahsoka's owl pop up, and look at her. And now this is our first Mortis hint, because that owl comes into Ahsoka's life. If you never watched Clone Wars, Ahsoka's these like Force godlike beings are there. There's a daughter and a son, and they're kind of held at bay. She's good, he's evil, at bay by the father. And so Ahsoka dies there. The first time she dies there, and the daughter basically gives her life essence or something like that, and then brings her back to life. And then this owl then pops out into the narrative, and the owl is designed just like the sister, like the same colors and scheme. The Fortnite skin is the same as the sister, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And so we see the little owl, and it's like the Morai, I think is its name. And it's like, oh, hey, it's you. And then like the owl, how did you get here? It's like flying around in the engines of the ship or something. But no, it's a magic owl. That's why it doesn't really matter. But then we cut over, and so that's like our first like Mortis in. That's our first Mortis thing, Mortis morsel. And then we cut over to Shin, and she's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna get these raiders, and I'm gonna make these raiders my voice. But Shin didn't go with the Empire, and I'm pretty sure Balen told her, go join them and take your place in that new order, and you're gonna be more, you're gonna do it. I believe in you. But she stays. She doesn't listen to him, and she goes back and she gets the raiders. So that's an interesting kind of thing for the climate of that area, that what's going on over there, Bun Sauce called her Genghis Shin. And then the big reveal where we get the answer. And some people were kind of confused about the answer. Like, Making Star Wars Investment Bulletin told me I was going to get an answer. And it's like, you literally have Balen on top of a statue of the father at the end. So what's calling him? Well, there's still some mystery there, but my money, and the sister's gone. The sister statue has fallen. She's Morai, she's Cal. And maybe
think it's his son.
Well, the son is there, and then so either the father or the son is calling him. The father is killed in the arc, or metaphorically, anyways. He seems to sort of die, right?
Well, it's important to note that of those three, only the father disappears when he dies, like Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Yeah,
he knows that secret of immortality.
That's
so
right.
He
The son
could
did
appear still as a Force ghost type thing. The son and the daughter, I think they're
dead.
But why I think it's evil, why I think it's the son, is that Ahsoka doesn't hear it, and neither does Shin. And I'm just of the opinion that Ahsoka's good. I'm of the opinion that Shin's not really truly evil. Like, the things that she's been doing have been at the behest of her master, following orders, kind of stuff to that extent. But Balen and Sabine have a darkness in them that those two don't seem necessarily to have. You know what I mean? And like when Shin wants to join Ahsoka, she's like, yeah, I kind of want to go with you, and I'll be super best girlfriends and share traveling Star Wars pants together and stuff, right? They kind of like she thinks about it for a second. Yeah. But then when he tells her to go join that Empire, she doesn't. She stays behind. She's like, no, fuck those guys. So I'm not so sure she's actually in the big picture is far gone as you might think. You know what I mean? Like what that might mean. It's definitely like it's open. And we end up with all of them. We end up with him on that statue, though. I think it could be the fucking son. And so there might be something. It might be that guy might be what's coming back, and that might be what is actually like a main villain in this movie that will then be dispatched, by the end of the film, or by that film saga.
I think the son's dead. I mean, it's pretty definitive when he dies.
Everyone comes back,
but only the father disappeared when he died.
But that's because he has that whole. I mean,
No. It's really like I said. It's debatable. I mean, is Balen good or evil and stuff like that? You could kind of go, but I would lean more towards Balen is actually evil because he is smart enough, trained enough, apparently, to know the difference between what he's doing as a mercenary and what a Jedi does. Like, he has all of the knowledge that he needs to have a moral compass, and he doesn't.
Well, I think it was interesting. So you go back to the Mortis arc, and if you watch that, the father says, like, so you came here as like a sanctuary, and it's like and a prison, and he, Anakin says something like, hiding from the Sith, and the father says the Sith are but one that are looking to exploit our power.
Right.
So the father made it out to be like, hey, people are looking for us to exploit our power. So I'm pretty sure, I don't think it's necessarily anything calling to him per se, like something reaching out to him, but more of like him on a quest of like the father, had alluded to that, hey, there's a lot of people out there that want the knowledge that we have and they're trying to find us.
Right.
And so I think he's just following the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, I don't know. It's obviously not canon anymore. There's that book of the Sith that came out some years ago.
Yeah.
And it has writings in there from Mother Talzin. And I'm trying to remember what it says, but it mentions Mortis. Because they said like they have like a gargoyle god and a griffin god that the Night Sisters worship, which of course are the son and the daughter.
Right.
So there's some connection there. I don't know what they're. And then of course the whole thing with the mother, and everybody's wondering, well, who the fuck is the mother, and is that something they're going to bring? Is it that Abeloth from the EU? I doubt that, but I mean. Is that some connection with the Night Sisters, and you got Mother Talzin,
okay.
So is
but we have to Occam's razor this.
Yeah.
Occam's razor says it's either the father or the son.
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think
really? Because I have nothing for Abeloth. Nothing. Absolutely. There is no hint.
I don't think they would go that route that it's Abeloth, but again, I don't think there's any coincidence that the Night Sisters know about the Mortis gods and that no one knows who the mother is. And the Night Sisters refer to themselves as the mothers.
Yeah.
So I think there very well could be a connection that you could make that wouldn't be like a big stretch of like, oh, we're totally going out left field and introducing something new. It fits in all the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I thought of what you're saying before.
Mm-hmm.
Like with because you have like the father, the son, the daughter, and then you have like that kind of balance thing. But then you have like Mother Talzin, and then she's fucking evil, but he's good. You have that whole thing, and then you think back to Lucas's ideas of Willow. And he's like, well, in the other saga, I told about the dark father and the good father, and this one I'm gonna tell the story of the good one. You know what I mean? And then like Mara Jade is, he reused everything all the time. And so it wouldn't surprise me if there is that connection there. You know what I mean? If it does, and but when they you see those like statues there, you got the Mortis thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think they're all really dead by the end of it, of the Mortis arc itself, and we're to believe that now Anakin, because the father was a previous chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
He's a chosen one of another era, of a bygone time, and then now Anakin's at play, and what are you going to do, Anakin? And during the Clone Wars, we know how it goes, but anyways, we end up with we end up with these statues there, and this thing's calling them, and it goes that way. I mean, it stands to reason if we were to, like I said, Occam's razor, it's something to do with those characters. And that thing, when you start going, it could be, any character that isn't named in the show, shown in some way. Like those characters were shown in the episode, or other way you cut it, and the voice is calling. So, but why would it call to that guy? Like, who the fuck is he? He's just, you know what I mean? Though he's just some random Jedi who became a mercenary, but he could hear it, and so can Sabine. Why can the actualized characters like Ezra Bridger, who's good and lives there for like 10 years, not hear it? Why can Ahsoka, who's good, even more actualized, just became white, not hear it? And then why can the only characters with a little bit of tinges of gray hear it? That's what makes me kind of no, probably hinting at that. I think it's going to be my theory is it's going to be the son, and they're going to bring that out into this post Return of the Jedi era kind of stuff, and then that's going to be one of the villains. Because I've always said that we have a movie coming up, and the movie's going to have Thrawn, and he's an Imperial, right? So we have our bad fascist, but what's the spiritual story going to be? Where is that going to come from? Where's the spiritual enemy going to come from? Thrawn doesn't have that. And so this might be how we contend with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
how do you-
maybe they all might and they all might come back, for the record. All three of them might come back into this because the owl's already
Yeah.
consciously is an avatar for the sister. So she's already in play here. So we can't act like, oh, well, they all died and they all got killed when the sister's flying around as a fucking bird shitting on stuff.
Well, I mean, no, I'd read the whole, a convor thing that's falling around the same way, like, the wolf showed up as a wolf named Doom after
Yeah.
Caleb Doom died,
Yeah.
after Kanan died. And
Like a
it was like
convor.
part of his life force now exists in that form, but it's
Yeah.
not him. So I
Yeah.
think the daughter, because I mean, the father straight up says when she brings Ahsoka back to life, let my daughter's final act.
Right.
Like, so he's fully saying this is it. She's a goner after this.
But she's
And
now
like,
she's a
how would
bird.
you?
What did he know? She's a bird.
Yeah.
Bird with a
Bird is
word.
a word.
But how would they bring the son back? I mean, how do they logically make that happen?
He's the
Where do you
son of
go?
a
How do you
bitch,
do that?
and we're gonna
You've
meet
seen
that
Nightmare
bitch.
on Elm Street, right?
Welcome
Yes.
to prime time, bitch.
Yeah.
Same thing.
They just
Comes
pops
back.
out of the grave.
He comes back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I just,
with
yeah.
with Filoni, so I'm kind of the opinion that when Filoni starts to make the films, I'm not saying he wouldn't do a cartoon again. I'm not saying he wouldn't do TV, but I think if you give Filoni a film and like he is successful, I don't think you take it away those toys from him, especially if he's making the cash. And so I kind of think that like where they're going is going to need to make a saga between the sagas again, which is what the Clone Wars do, and he did that really well before. And now we have this is our saga between the sagas. And it might be live action, and in it you're gonna want this crazy shit. Like, people haven't seen Mortis, they don't know what it is. They're not gonna know anything about it. They're never gonna watch it.
Right.
But you can redo it. And when I say redo it, I mean reintroduce it. And I think that's what's going to happen. Is I think it's going to kind of effectively be reintroduced here. That's what I mean. It's where it all seems to be going. Filoni, before all this shit went down, before Mando's success, he said that we were going to get a capstone to that, to the Mortis stuff, like what the ramifications of Ahsoka's death. We never got it. I never forgot that. I've been bringing it up this whole time about the show. At the end here, I think that's him going. We're going there. At least that's what I think, anyways. But so yeah, and then we were talking about Ezra going home with his helmet on. Super strange move, but dramatic conceit is what it is, I guess. And then at the very, very end, as the way that Bespin reported it, Anakin looks on. I was gonna say he wasn't the only person to say that Anakin would be in the episode at the end there, but he was the one who said exactly how that was going to happen.
I think he looked straight ahead, not on.
Oh,
yeah. So I think he might have missed that one.
But it looked good though.
Lucky guess.
Yeah. But and I also think that if you are questioning, a couple of things, if you're questioning, oh shit, I got the answer just now. Is it Anakin calling him? Because Anakin, by the old rules, would have had to have replaced the father there.
Obviously the Mortis thing is kind of some fucked up shit, but the father's not dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he's replacing the father who died and became a Force ghost, and Anakin's now a Force ghost, why does he need to replace him? Because they're both Force ghosts. So they could both exist in that spot. But the only reason that Anakin needed to stay there was because the father or the son and the daughter were there. Once they were gone, there's no need for Anakin to stay there to maintain the balance.
No.
Father says, you must stay here to control my children. Only you can do that. That's what the prophecy says. He doesn't say like, hey, Mortis needs like a caretaker. And you had to stick around Mortis because someone's got to sweep this mausoleum up,
What happens? but what happens, James?
They die.
No.
The daughter dies, the son dies, and the father dies. They're all dead.
They're avatars or metaphors or physical representations of the larger galactic body at play.
Yes. Correct.
And they are entering into full on imbalance as Anakin falls to the dark side.
Yes.
And that's what's making Mortis a shitty place to live with your kids.
Yes.
What's happening in the galaxy about this time is Ben is born. The imbalance is coming back again. It doesn't happen like 1,000 years later. Like this time it's going back. So we are moving back into it, which would give Anakin a job potentially in that environment. You know what I mean? It could.
You know, I tend to think that Filoni is a little more respectful of the George Lucas canon than the Disney canon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that's where it goes, obviously with Disney, and obviously he's not going to break off from that. But I don't think he's going to full on just like shit on what Lucas would have done and say, you know.
Yeah. Well, judging by what Mortis was and what happened there and Lucas's involvement with it, this would literally be the honoring of that and bridging those things.
Potentially, but again, if all of a sudden the sun just pops back to life and hey, I didn't die, I don't know. I mean, you got a lot of explaining to do there. Like, how does that fucking work?
After all of the shit that's happened on that's the one. It's a lot easier for me to believe that motherfucker walks out of the netherworld like that little kid in Poltergeist coming through like a gate into our world than Darth Maul's like, I fell into some trash and became a spider. Then the witches took me, gave me Mandalorian legs, and then revived me. Then my brother came, you know. And
but they showed that.
No, they didn't show it.
If he just popped up, if Maul just came out because of magic legs, and he's like, "Hey, look what I got," you know.
Yeah, no,
what the fuck happened?
They showed some of it.
They got to show
the actual important part where he fell down the hole. Like, how did you know Palpatine? How did you get there? Like, I'm from the movies. You don't know.
And again, like if it's a good enough story, I don't give a shit. It's like I just don't think they're going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's more likely that, because also who's to say that the father, son, and daughter are the only ones of their kind?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like there's only three of us. There only ever was three of us.
Well, right now the way that I look at it, the sister broke out. When she resurrected Ahsoka, maybe as long as Ahsoka is alive, a part of her, because her essence is in Ahsoka, maybe that's what allows this to happen, and maybe there's going to be the antithesis of it of Ahsoka. Maybe that's how it happened. Maybe Balen gets there, and they kill him, and then the son's essence goes into him, and he walks out there just like Ahsoka in the same way, and we have I mean, it's fake, so you could just kind of make it, jig it to work however you want, I guess. But
obviously you got to be consistent within your own world, though, and what you've already set up.
But this is what Filoni has. This is what Filoni does. What Filoni has done.
Yeah.
Before, like, and when you look at the totality of the Clone Wars content and stuff like that, he would do this. I think he'd do this. I'm not saying he's gonna.
Give me an example of where he's done something like that. Because I can't.
The Mortis arc itself.
Well, no, in terms of just kind of like just you're basically just saying that he's going to kind of rewrite the rules as he goes.
Bringing back Darth Maul.
Well, he was told to do that by George, so
making the Mandalorians pacifist white people for a time. I mean, he does things. He rewrites the rules and then he writes them back into where they are thought to go. And he goes, You thought you knew what was gonna happen, then I tricked you. Like he likes that's his whole storytelling like motivation.
I think when you get into deep lore of the Force, he's definitely not going to try to rewrite the script on that. No, he's going to stick to the. So we know once you're dead, you're gone, unless you by chance know the little Force secret like that the father knew.
Yeah,
or you somehow are magically stay alive like Darth Maul and you use your excited powers to do that. So it's like, okay, so if the son was alive for this whole time,
but also James, does God die in a fantasy world? Does God die?
But they weren't gods. I mean, we sit there and we say that, and but they were mortal.
In the Greek mythological sense, they're gods. and everybody's like, I want the wheels to show up, and that's exactly what the wheels would have been. You know what I mean? They're like these anchorites that are viewing what's going on out here in the place. Just saying. I mean, it kind of.
I mean, because the father said he's like, I'm dying. You got to take my place. I'm not going to be here much longer. I mean, so he's literally saying, I am mortal.
Yeah.
I can't live forever.
Kind
So
of.
if he was the guy, he'd be like, "Fuck, I'm gonna be around forever." Or, "Fuck you, I mean, you, Anakin."
that's way too hard of a reading on metaphysical dog shit, which is what it actually is. You know what I mean? Now,
pretty hard and fast rule. If you say, "Hey, I can die," you're not a god. You're not mortal. You're not.
Yeah, but then what? But then what happens? So now God died and he never comes back in Star Wars. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is those things would obviously just exist when they need it. When it needs to exist, it will exist.
Yeah, okay. Listen, if it's a good story, I'll go with it. But
it might not be. I'm not making a value judgment on it. I'm just saying, what does it like I said, using the Occam's razor principle, what does it look like this is going? What does it look like? And the
a planet full of force witches, and something's calling to them, and we don't know where the mother is from Mortis.
Okay,
Occam's razor, right back to the mother.
No, I'm with that. I've honestly, I swear to God, I've said that before. I'm like, she might be the fucking connection to that thing.
Yeah.
And when you get down to it though, like Anakin's path also wasn't so clean cut. Let's just say he doesn't, you know what I mean? Like the way he goes about things. And so from a narrative perspective, if somebody had never seen Mortis before and you wanted to reintroduce it, you can have Anakin and Ahsoka end up in that place talking to those characters, and they could give us the rundown in like 10 words about what mattered from all of that stuff. You know what I mean? What brought her back. And then like how maybe the non-linear path fucked things up, but also Palpatine's not really dead. So Anakin does sort of bring balance in the sense that he stops
it. I mean, that's already fucked up. I mean,
not forever. Like the cancer returns to the galaxy.
Dumbest prophecy ever. And he's going to bring balance to the Force for like 5 days, and then it's back to shit.
Well, I mean, they get.
He's going to kill the Emperor, but not really.
They get like 30.
What kind of prophecy is that?
I'm going to say 30 years in Star Wars that's like dog years.
It wasn't even 30 years though, because I mean, look at all the shit that's going on now with Ahsoka. I mean, if you're going to have this nonsense go down, do you call that balance? I mean, so it's like what did it last 5 years?
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, it's
because originally
Palpatine's not dead, so you didn't kill the fifth.
If you're going to follow the saga after George Lucas, then you have to say yes.
Yeah, you have to do some real mental gymnastics to make this shit work after Lucas is out of the picture.
You just have to go. Yeah, it's called Star Wars, and there's very rarely is there any piece. And honestly, nobody wants to watch that saga where that 1,000-year saga a piece. Nobody wants that. So it's fine.
No,
so it's like, do it. Bring back the Force God, the evil Force God. Let's do that. You know what I mean? Like you kind of got it.
Well, even now with the sequel trilogy, okay, well now you say, well, Rey brought balance to the Force, but now you're going to have a movie set 15 years after that where obviously there's going to be a conflict and shit's going to be going south again. So it's like,
where
does the fucking end?
There's always a conflict.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Your evil is never vanquished. It exists.
There's nothing, and that's why I would have gone with the Lindelof route. 60 years. I'm like, okay, 60 years into the future. Palpatine's been dead for 90 years now. That makes sense a little bit more. I can deal with that, but this, every couple of years, some shit happens, and it's the galaxy's in utter turmoil. I mean, at some point, it's like you got to go like way out. You either got to go way back or way forward in order to move the franchise forward. You can't keep going back to the same and just building off of what came before.
If you want it to be, if you buy into the Phantom Menace trailer hype of every generation has a legend, every single generation balance is going to need to be restored. Just fucking roll with it that way. Now, if like they restore balance and then they have to do it again 6 weeks later. Yeah, but I mean, this is at least what we have right now. It is generational.
Palpatine wasn't even dead, so I mean, how could you even say that? Like the prophecy was fulfilled and balance was restored.
He does die.
Does he? Does he though?
Yeah. He does, but he's like brought back in this clone body, and yeah.
Well, shame on JJ, because I mean, if you watch that movie, did he die? Is he alive? Is he a zombie?
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. Like I said, there's nothing.
Yeah, you got to jump through some hoops to make that shit work.
I'm not making a value judgment on it.
I am. It sucks.
Yeah, but that's not. But to the body of work that we're talking about.
Yeah,
it being good, the best Star Wars movie or the worst has nothing to do with anything. What it has to do with though is, did he bring balance? Yeah, he did. For about 30 years, but also once Kylo comes of age and then starts going, that's where you start to have that shift. You know what I'm saying? And that's happening somewhere around now. That's where we kind of have, and also like, I'm cool with there being huge fucking sagas in between the things that we didn't know about. Like, I like the Clone Wars as a saga more than most Star Wars.
Well, and I mean, to me, the Clone Wars is still the best Star Wars there is. But so the time between Jedi and sequel trilogy, I would have been happy if they'd just done Mando style shows. Show this guy out the galaxy bounty hunting, and I don't need some epic grand tale of the galaxy in turmoil.
James, you're getting the fucking movie, bro. You're getting the movie. Well, you're like, God, they're giving me the thing I'm asking for. Fuck.
Am I? That's not what I was asking for. I was asking for a movie, not that movie.
No, but it's setting the like stage. I'm hoping, and I'm making an assumption, but I'm assuming that when they get to the movie, it's not going to look just like the show we just saw on Disney Plus, and it's not. It will be bigger.
They fucked up.
No, and the things that they're doing here are laying out.
Well, obviously this is laying groundwork for something much bigger.
Yeah, but sometimes writers could be like, yeah, I'm laying the groundwork for something bigger. Well, what's the bigger thing? I'll figure it out later when I get there. Like, that could be the case, and this might not actually be something bigger, but it also might be. I mean, so I'm going to go with, I'm on your side, Filoni, until you show me otherwise.
Well,
and I'm like,
I mean, this show is, this show's a mixed bag. So it's like, am I highly anticipating his movie of this stuff?
But is it a mixed bag though? I found the show to be incredibly consistent.
Yeah, but it's just meh to me. It's not like, oh my God, it's not like must-see TV. It was good. I mean, I enjoyed it on the whole.
You're talking about must-see TV? You're talking about Perfect Strangers?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come on, this is no Friends. I mean,
no Friends. No. Oh, was that must-see TV? Fuck that show.
I don't even remember.
Struggling to order, get a $5 super chat. Says no reason to think this, but Balen resting in the hand of the Father, I think, gives emphasis that it's the Father who's calling him.
I think so.
Yeah, and we could all. I mean, also just. I mean, it's fake. It's made up. So all the possibilities of the imagination within reason are there. And we might have Ahsoka and Balen and Shin and Sabine all get there, and they might find different things when they go to that place. I mean, that might be the portal to the Mortis concept, idea, or realm, or whatever. I would have to think they go inside that mountain, and then it's amazing. It's
another galaxy.
Yeah.
Avatar, right, Max?
It's another galaxy.
Well, it's also important to note that tower that the Night Sisters were in was very reminiscent of a structure on Mortis.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is all tying in. So how do the Night Sisters tie into the whole Mortis? And I don't think it's a coincidence that they just so happen to be on a planet where there's Mortis statues. So I mean, to me, it's all pointing to something that's not the Father or the Son.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but maybe they're just gonna pull an okey doke, but it's, to me, that's the way they're going.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, Filoni doesn't know yet. He might. We don't. I mean, I'm going to assume that he does, but I think it's gonna. Yeah, I think it's going to reintroduce that idea. But also think about how that concept changes now that Anakin is a ghost.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, and he's around.
Yeah.
He's clearly around. He's like right there looking at him. Like, hey, look at him go down the street. He watches it. so there's I mean, there's ways of potentially dealing with that stuff in big ways. And so we've seen it set up that the galactic conflict, like the what do you say? You can't say geopolitical because it's like a bunch of worlds and stuff, but whatever, the geopolitical climate of Star Wars, we know where the war is going.
Yeah.
We know like these guys versus these guys, like that's going. But you know, I mean, and then Kate does it. Points out Ben Solo's like 5. There's time. Yeah, Ben's like specific age at that time is like somewhere between really tiny and like 7 years old, 5 and 7. And we don't know when he starts hearing the little voices in his head and things start going a bit wacky. You know what I mean? And then also like when you look at ideas though that are in episodes. So one thing that Dave Filoni generally likes to do is take something in Star Wars that doesn't work and try to make it work. I mean, Anakin did it to Anakin Skywalker as far as he gave him Luke Skywalker hair, a whole new fucking personality. Like it just totally went in on it. He did.
Yeah.
And was like, I remember Filoni and Lucas talking about like why didn't Anakin work for some people? Like what was missing and like and him wanting to include it and they did.
Yep.
Well, Palpatine has a line in episode 9 when he's or those moments where it kind of like alludes to the fact that he has like all of the Sith in him. All of that stuff is like in there. I mean, for this thing with if that sun is in there and that sun is coming back and it's important, they could bridge that into that concept and enhance it. It's possible. It's possible that you could, that, what I mean, that they could make it work. It's possible. Well, it's well, no,
right?
no,
I mean,
and well, so
theory.
In my opinion, you could take that and have that be exactly how Palpatine even gets clone in that clone body from the fucking start. Like, how do we even get there? That could be a way of getting us there. And I have always felt like, and Snoke could have been a evil wizard at some point who like really does exist. But I did always feel that
he's got the height like the Mortis guys do. So I mean,
right. True.
And they did say that Snoke was definitely not human.
Yeah. And I've just always been of the opinion that like Palpatine needs a body and they can't just clone Ian McDiarmid because why would you actually do that? And we know with development and stuff like whatever. But like you could make it where and then Snoke is the body that they're trying to give him to inhabit like in the new place. And I mean fucking for all we know, Snoke is the old version of the sun, like who's alive. You know what I mean? I mean, it could go. Who knows? I mean, so that they could go down some pretty weird rabbit holes if they decide to. I don't know what they'll do.
Well, and they did mention, in like even the Aftermath novels, and of course that was probably, I don't know how much stock to put in that, especially given the fact that there was no plan for the sequel trilogy and you're trying to write a novel to tie into a story with no plan. But they always talked about how Palpatine heard something out in the unknown regions calling to him, and they were making a big deal about it. Like there was an observatory on Jakku and something out in the outer territories, and it's the source of Palpatine's power, and they were alluding to something that and I don't know if the plan changed with the sequel trilogy, if there's going to be more to that, or that was just some bullshit that Chuck Wendig threw in there, or what do you think?
Both. I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of all of those things, and I think that like it's some of that stuff's kind of plug and play. Like they put it in there and it kind of works or it doesn't. It's an answer for now, but then when we actually get the answer, it turns out that interfaces, but it's not really what we thought it was.
Yeah,
like clones and stormtroopers and stuff like that, like how that worked. Just look at how that went from a New Dawn. to what we learned in A New Dawn to what we learned since.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It lines up. And when you read A New Dawn now, you go, oh, I know what that means. A New Dawn didn't tell you any of that stuff, and it didn't. It wasn't like clear enough what any of it meant, and you know how that went down. So yeah, that's where I'm a little like okay, probably. But anyways, yeah.
Do you think obviously Filoni's never directed a major motion picture.
What?
So this is a pretty big step. Do you think he's got carte blanche to kind of do whatever, or does he have a lot of people in his ear telling him you need to do this, you need to do that?
I don't think the people who would be in his ear telling him what to do know what to tell him not to do.
Well,
does that make sense?
That doesn't necessarily stop them from doing it.
No.
Just
that's
because they don't know doesn't mean they know they don't know.
No,
right?
that's what I'm saying is like I don't think the people who would stand in his way about doing that stuff would even understand how to tell him, no, you can't do that. That offends George Lucas's sensibilities, in my opinion, or whatever happens to be. I mean,
I don't think that would be their feedback. I would think more of they would be like, oh no, you got to have this character. Like, oh, don't bring back something from the Clone Wars. That's we want something new, or you've got to not kill off this character, and you get I don't know, any kind of dopey
I don't
they might have
once
for
again,
him.
I don't think they even know that stuff. That's kind of like
give him lore information, but just like story beats.
If Bob Iger hears like Boba Fett, he probably goes, "Oh, cool, yeah."
No, I'm not talking in terms of like what characters to include or what lore to bring in, but more just in terms of like, your story has to have a big battle at the end, or you have to like not kill off this character, or you have to have a romantic, plot thread through this, or just kind of like here's things that we want, here's like a wish list of things you have to include, and not like bring back this cameo, but more of like from a story level, from a higher level, this is the kind of story we want. These are the kind of things we want.
Kate says kill off Grogu. Oh no, she says don't kill off Grogu. But yeah, like don't kill off Grogu. No, I mean like it wouldn't be it would not surprise me if down the road we learned that Grogu was in the Book of Boba Fett, because they were like, yeah, we'll let you do it, but you got to put Grogu in it at some point. And that's why that episode just becomes this weird Mando episode all of a sudden in the middle of it. Like it wouldn't surprise me if like that's like that kind of interference, if that's something that happened.
Yeah,
I've looked into that, by the way, and never really got that like smoking gun on that answer, like why, just other than like Favreau just wanted to do it. But I don't know.
It's weird.
When it comes to going down those like weird rabbit hole kind of things, I don't think they're going to stop them. I mean, you could just look at like the weird rabbit holes that Loki and Marvel go down, and just the fact that they allow like a multiverse to exist when it did. Now with multiverse is so played out, and you see it on every single thing ever. But Marvel was doing it, was like pretty open to that weirdness, that Back to the Future Part 2 style weirdness. Way earlier on, they let him do it. So I do think that they will probably let him go down some weird places. Now, I think if it's too convoluted or stupid and they watch it and they just don't understand it, that's where the problem arises. But I think that's when we're well into it.
You think, and obviously, even like with Lucas story treatments, we know Bob Iger and other people had to like read it over. It's like someone reading over a story treatment for Filoni's movie, and
then let's also
this sounds dumb. We don't want to do this.
That always makes me laugh. Like the idea that George Lucas had treatments. He didn't have any. He didn't have any. What's his name did? Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, Michael
Arndt. Yeah, Michael Arndt wrote the 40-page sequel trilogy treatment, and that was the plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of think that in that company though, now or in Lucasfilm itself, I don't know. When you get out into the Disney part, they're a little bit like we don't know up from down with Star Wars. I don't know what any of that means, kind of stuff. But there is a lot of like, oh well, if Dave says so. There's a lot of like, reverence for that guy. So
That's
I
good.
think he has a lot of potential to hit home runs or fuck it up bad. Like and I don't think he will. I think he'll like probably do a good job with making like a new. They don't make a Star Wars movie. Here's one of the things that I think is like a big fallacy with Star Wars, and it's been proven since. I think they don't go out there and just intend to make a Star Wars movie. They
No.
always hope that every one of they hope Solo is going to spawn a bunch of more Star Wars movies. We know that there was going to be a Kenobi movie, and then in fact it was supposed to be a trilogy because they thought it was such a it was so going to like work that they'd be able to continue to like tell the. And when you look at what was going to be in those stories, and the stuff with Rex and all that kind of shit, like the stuff that Cody and that stuff, it all like pops back up. Yeah, I mean the deep fan servicey things are there. I mean, and so yeah, are they going to let Dave Filoni make the most fan servicey Star Wars movie of all time in some way? That's what I think it's going to do. That's what I think. That's where I think they're at, and they're going to like do that with that one, and then the other ones will be their own little different things. But I think that's actually a smart way to go. Like I am always like I always want a Dave Filoni style television show or cartoon to exist while other things that are trying to do something completely different exist, because then the people who need that, who only see Star Wars as this one idea or concept or kind of thing, or interpret the genre in that way, they're satiated. And then they just have to be fucking patient and let Andor do its thing and grow the fuck up and let it exist as well. And then if you're like me, you're just winning across the board because I want all of this stuff. I want all of these different flavors of Star Wars to exist. And
no, God forbid though. What if so Dave Filoni makes his movie, comes out? What if it bombs?
Yeah.
I mean, then what happens to Dave Filoni at that point?
Then he got his shot and he goes back to the minors. And when you get down to it, that's I mean, because the guy has proven himself in animation for them for fucking over almost 20 years. So he's got that. And then the live action stuff, he's partially responsible for the Grogu thing. And then the Mando, like Mandalorian, and one of their flagship shows for Disney Plus. So he's on the TV front, and Ahsoka had good numbers. They're happy with it. So all that together, you end up with he's good there. So if he goes out and makes the film and it doesn't connect, probably won't get another chance. I wouldn't think I hope he would, but it probably wouldn't. And I think he would just go back to being like, well, that was my thing, and then those stories would then go to TV shows. And I think if that movie does connect, then the rest of those stories probably go to film. That would be my guess. And then maybe they make the TV shows in between those movies and like kind of do that kind of game. But what I find amazing about like this kind of era or what we have here is we have like TV show stuff, cartoon stuff, informing the backstory of a TV show that is now the backstory that will inform the film. So you do have it kind of like going up, and you have to assume that with that accidental methodology, or that starts just naturally and then becomes what it is, it's going to end up becoming an amazing film if Filoni has the ideas. The one thing about Filoni is number one is I think he does a great job. I think as like a Star Wars fan making Star Wars films or little films, he's done a great job. He does it, but he also tends to be like, I'm going to reuse this idea of this thing that I did. And if it's a good idea and nobody notices it, then he'll just reconfigure it and do the idea again, like on a bigger way. And he does that. And and it's, like he'll do like an homage to Predator or something, and he'll do it again. And it's fine. I mean, to some extent, it's fine. But I'm curious of when we get to this movie, do we see like he did in Avatar, The Last Airbender, he did the equivalent of the tanks going up the wall. nobody was really watching that at the time. It wasn't really the biggest thing in the world. Then he gets Star Wars, and he does his movie, his animated movie, and he puts it in there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He does it, and so you know, like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like you come up with these ideas and you keep playing with them. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's fine. But I mean, we'll see if he can Dave Filoni make like a trilogy of Star Wars films in the end. You know, it's a lot. The guy has like a lot on his plate when you get down to it. But on Disney Plus, for like what this was, I thought he brought the fun of the Clone Wars and his animated endeavors into live action. I think it was better than most of those the Clone Wars stuff to some degree, and I think it was better than Rebels. Ezra Bridger is a fucking hell of a lot better. This version of Ezra I like insanely more than Star Wars Rebels cartoon version.
Yeah, well, especially that first season of Rebels, it was way too schlocky.
Where he's like saying everything he thinks out loud and everything.
Or like, you know, there's a scene where like Sabine goes into like there's like a fighter like a airfield, TIE fighter airfield, and she's like doing cartwheels and laughing as the stormtroopers are shooting at her. And it's like you like contrast that to the tone of like any of the Star Wars movies where, you know, even though, you know, the stormtroopers are kind of like part of the joke, you know, none of the characters feel that way in the movie. They're like, oh shit, we're getting shot at, we better take cover. And she's just like, ah, you missed me. And it's like, really? You know, it's way too Saturday morning cartoon. Well, some of that stuff, it's just, and so if Sabine started doing that in this show, I'd be like, oh, I'm fucking done, I'm out.
Yeah, my thing is just nobody likes dorky teenagers, and like that's the whole thing is they have to be like identifiable and not just like, oh my god, my hormones. You know what I mean? Like it has to be like it's really surface. Like it's like somebody who's heard about what it's like to be a teenager, never was one. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you have to like really get behind the perspective of that character. Like Pretty in Pink doesn't work if you write them how Star Wars Rebels wrote its teenage kids. You know what I mean? When you get down to it. So like that's where I'm a little bit like, you know, I don't like when they write youth and it's just stupid.
Yeah,
it's like it's like, you know, it's kind of painful and confusing to be like a teenager, and
probably because we remember how stupid we were when we were that age.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not just like, oh shucks.
You didn't
say
that
was.
Whoa! You know, and, like,
I did. I was like that all the time when I was 13. What are you talking about?
I'm stuck like that. But you know what I mean. But I want my heroes to like that. You know?
Do you think that was a Simon Kinberg influence on that show?
I don't know.
That seemed to go away in later seasons. So
it was on Disney XD or XD.
Or was it thing? Greg Weisman was on board.
So I think maybe some of that stuff came from them, and when they were kind of gone and Filoni was more in charge, it was.
But I think it was meant to conform to Disney XD at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's those.
Yeah, and so like, you know, maybe that was just them doing what the bosses paid them to do. I don't know. I mean, I know there was like drama of between them, and I know like that's why you don't Weisman and Kinberg kind of peace out.
Yeah,
you know, around that time. Too.
I'm okay with that.
But, yeah,
Greg.
Yeah, Greg Weisman would do an excellent Star Wars show.
Yeah,
if he had control over it, if it was his tone and it was his baby, he'd do a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, with like Kinberg, you know, we're good. I think we're good.
Yeah.
You know, we're fine.
There with the Michael Bay Star Wars.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, but I mean, you know, we got, I don't know, when I compared this Ahsoka series to Mando 1 and 2 and 3 and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett and Andor, I mean, I haven't had what this series is. It's a different flavor. Like my whole thing with like the Star Wars films that I've always liked, even all 9 of them, is that they are all different color palettes and like different vibes to it. When I'm bored,
Did you mean all 6?
Yeah. Oh, you're one of those guys now.
Yeah.
And but you put them on like you have like your options, and there's like differences, and like on those ones you got John Williams and like different scores by Williams. It makes me like sometimes I just like want to hear the Ray theme, and I want to watch Force Awakens and stuff like. And so, anyways, on this series right here, I feel like this was an offering that was for the Disney Plus scope. I thought was good. I thought the use of the volume, it was smaller scope Star Wars, but it was doing a lot of doing big stuff. It didn't look bad. Like, it doesn't look as bad as like Book of Boba Fett oftentimes did look. Yeah, they weren't just sitting on like a black room with a curtain around it going, we're outside in the dark. Can you believe it? They weren't doing any of that. You know what I mean? And like, it's obviously volume work. A lot of it is, but it's also like for me, I mean, Cloud City and Empire Strikes Back is essentially volume work too, in terms of like how fucking fake it looks, but how fine I am with it. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's good. And so, I'm not
enough back to tanks in here for me.
Yeah, God, they went back. They're crazy on that show. They could not fucking stop.
No back to shit.
But
They
God,
did.
yeah,
No.
you said it, man.
As far as like for me, Ahsoka, the only I guess like 2 shows that I've watched more than once, like episodes wise, is Mando and this one.
This one,
like multiple times.
Yeah.
It's a fun show.
Yeah. And like I've always been afraid of the use of Thrawn, because it's one of those characters where they spend a lot of time telling you how good he is, and not a lot of in a novel they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But in in Star Wars Rebels, people are just like, that's the thing I like, therefore it's amazing. I'm seeing it in cartoon and it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fucking jackass in the show. I mean, honestly, like, I have no complaints about Thrawn in this show, because in Rebels he's fucking stupid. It's like, oh no, they're getting me again. Like, oh, they're foiled again. And it's like, it's kind of like, but I mean, but there's great story moments. And that's the thing about Rebels, is like, Rebels is salvaged for me by the fact that the story itself of Rebels is fucking great. All of those, if somebody just sat down and like, here's the story and tells it to you, it's great. The execution of it is where, for Rebels, it's lacking for me in like a lot of places.
It's definitely a lot less consistent than Clone Wars. Like, when it's bad, it's really bad, and when it's good, it's really good.
And it's visually dull.
Visually it sucks.
Yeah, it's very. So in this one, with like the Thrawn stuff, I'm able to let a lot of it go. Yeah. Like a lot of, you know what I mean? Like the things like, why did he do that or whatever? And like, because like the way that he's written in the show is just 100% Dave Filoni. Somebody told Dave Filoni about chess and how it works, and he learned about chess exchanges. And so everything about him is the chess exchange. How do exchanges work in chess? And so, like, okay, I'm giving up pawns, but I'm taking the rook. That's how it goes, and it's fine, because I mean, it's still, it has to be comprehensible to a 14-year-old boy who's dumb as a box of rocks and likes Star Wars and buys the shit. I think it worked.
Well, they said they run a lot of the stuff by Tim Zahn. Do you honestly?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he was right there. Oh, good job, buddy.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't buy that. Do you buy it?
No.
I mean, I'm not saying they didn't have like a phone call and it's like, hey, here's what I'm doing. He's still blue. But
I don't know. I think maybe they run it past him, and if he makes a good suggestion, they say, "Oh, that was good," and they write it down. But I don't think he's like rewriting the show for him, or if they're saying, "Oh no, Thrawn would never do. He would never work with the Night Sisters." They're not going to be like, "Oh, well, stop the show." Zahn says we can't do that. So yeah, I mean, the story's a story, but I think he might maybe add some insight. Well, he should do this instead of that kind of thing, or he should say this instead of that. Maybe, but yeah, at the end of the day, if they don't like what he says, they're gonna tell him to go in a corner and shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Don says Filoni kind of sold out. It seems he could possibly take over Lucasfilm one day and redeem this madness. So the thing, Dave Filoni is a company man through and through. If you say Disney Star Wars and there's any kind of like to it, he's as responsible for it as the next guy. He's on that story group. He's right there with them 100%.
And
There
he's
is
Team
no
Kathleen
division.
Kennedy.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
The reason why he's making TV shows is because of Kathleen Kennedy.
Yep.
She could have fired him when they let everybody go at the end of Star Wars Clone Wars when they were cutting the fat from the company at that point. I think actually one of her best calls she ever made was not doing that and making sure that he stayed around. They could have lost him there. I thought they probably were going to at the time. Like that was sort of my reading of it. But in terms of like taking over Lucasfilm, absolutely not. He's a creative, and he's not a producer, not that kind of producer.
Right.
And so, that would never be something if Dave Filoni took over sort of in the way that you're saying, then he would have his hands tied and he wouldn't be making anything anymore.
Yeah. And he can't even be a George Lucas because, I mean, Lucas was making a movie, a TV show. He wasn't doing 5 TV shows and 3 movies.
Right.
It's way too much of the scope and scale is too big now for one person to be that guy.
Yeah.
So that whole auteur thing is out the door.
Yeah.
So,
Garth not giving 49 super chat. Thank you, Garth. And says nobody puts Filoni in the corner. Yeah, I don't think so. I think I think just my guess is he's going to take big swings with his movie, right? And I also think it's going to look, feel, and be better than what he does on his El Segundo Manhattan Beach shows. I think it will be better, but I also think it's probably going to use most of those tools, be probably made in some of the same places, but we'll probably get some more location shooting and stuff like that. We wouldn't get on those shows that will elevate it a bit. But I what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's going to be super expensive. And so I think if he comes out and he makes his movie for a very moderate budget, swings hard, and then it makes $700-800 million, I think he's good to go. I'm also of the opinion that we're not going to see like 2019 money, because we're not seeing 2019 money on anything but random one-off Barbie, Mario kind of weird, like I don't see I hope it does, but I don't think Star Wars is going to come back and make that amount of money. I think it's going to make like your mid-rung Marvel movie like money, like a good Ant-Man, maybe a good Ant-Man on a good day.
Yeah,
probably, maybe.
I wonder what his budget's going to be.
Yeah,
I mean, they got to be pretty conservative right now with budgets. I'm thinking that you're not going to get $300 million, Force Awakens kind of.
No, but when you look at like what it costs to like usually, like I want to say Skeleton Crew is like $136 million. But when you're doing these shows, you're doing 8 episodes, long scripts, and you're making you're basically making so much extra movie. And Dave Filoni previses everything from animation. So there's like I think if they go balls out on the extras for his movie, we'll probably be able to watch an animated version of like rough cut animated version of that movie if they wanted to, but before they even film it, even of this show, if they wanted to, they could. And so I think that's going to be how they're going to know exactly what they need to go out and make. And
right. Well, and TV writers are definitely more well versed than film writers in terms of dealing with budgetary constraints. They know you can't have 5 locations. You can't be filming at dawn.
Right.
There's certain things you just can't do in a TV budget because it costs way too much money.
Yeah.
And so he's probably pretty good about working around limitations.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think he'll, like I said, do the repackaging of those ideas of the things he's already done before. And that's where and the film in his film. And it's not all of them, not every one he's ever had. I don't mean to say it like that. But I do think that like that's how I think the Mortis stuff will probably go down in that way, and it'll be like the Mortis event happened during the Clone Wars, and it had ramifications for the Clone Wars. What is this called? I don't know. The New Republic Wars, Thrawn Wars. I don't know what they're going to call it.
Mandoverse.
But what? Yeah. Well, no. I mean, like in universe,
Yeah.
this era of conflict. Like, what will it be called? You know, I don't know. But whatever it is, this might just be like this. That was the Clone Wars generation time for that one. This might be like the next version of it, and I think it was to retell it. But, anyways, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm pretty tired. You guys tired?
That's all you here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'll be back tomorrow talking about the show with Rob. It's gonna be a good time. Well, you got to hear Rob's opinion.
Rob's gonna love it.
Rob might love. I don't know. Rob might like this one.
I don't think he will. I'm gonna go on a limb and say I think Rob's gonna be hypercritical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just always like my thing is like, you know, what are the aims of the show? And like I say, I look at this Ahsoka series, like what was it aiming to do and what did it do? And so like if this show was aiming to be Andor and it was this, I'd be like, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean? Like what the fuck were you doing there? But anyways, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll have a long time till the next series, though, you guys. So if you guys have your Disney Plus accounts, might want to cancel it till May the 4th. Just letting you guys know, might want to cancel it until then. I would. I suggest everybody do that. Let them know your strike was stupid. They're just, you know, they're just going to raise the prices on this stuff again. But anyways, I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, Max.
You're welcome.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Super Chat people. Thank you for liking the video and all that jazz. And we'll see everybody tomorrow. I'm going to bed. Fuck you guys.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey, it's the end of the show. Come on, let's go. Hey, it's the end of the show. Come on, let's go. Hey, you know you should go. Come on, let's go. It's not about spaceships.